Good evening, everyone. My name is Janet Fishman, and my company is called Hope Organizers. Thank you for being here on my Organizing Life interview series. Every month, I feature a speaker, and what their subject is, what they talk about affects organizing. Actually, everything in life affects organizing. Everything in life requires organizing. Imagine you, for yourself or for your family, need to plan your food for the week. How do you do it? Do you walk up and down the aisles at the grocery store, pushing the shopping cart and just pulling things from the shelf? Or do you take a list and make a list of the things that you are empty in your refrigerator or in your pantry closet? Or do you take recipes and you plan out your week's menu, what you're going to have each day, and you write down the ingredients? Or if you're having a big event that you're entertaining at your house, do you pre-prepare the shopping list? All of this involves organizing. So tonight we have a fabulous speaker, Ziebart, and she is going to talk a fascinating talk tonight. Her company is Plant-Based for Life. She is a speaker, a health educator, a transition specialist. She recently left a position as an education specialist with 2 hospitals in Ventura County to pursue her passion full-time. She has a health science background as well as special certificates to teach diabetes and chronic disease management. She volunteers with Ventura County Public Health, where she has assisted with events, screenings, and health education for after-school programs. Her passion is reducing suffering through teaching people how to take back their health with nutrition. She has dedicated her life to empowering others to achieve their best health. As a health educator, she runs cooking lessons, nutritional coaching, and specific classes and programs to guide you in various aspects of health. So welcome, Jay. Really excited to have you tonight.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
And we have MJ monitoring the technology. So if you have any tech issues, you can put a chat in the box. If you have any questions, you can put a chat in the box. Well, let's get started. Jay, can you start off by telling us and sharing with us how you embarked on your healthy eating path?
Absolutely. As some people might be able to relate, I got my kickstart when I had a health scare. I went to my doctor and they did what they always do, and they pop you on the scale, pop a blood pressure cuff on you, and they call the doctor over right away. This is never a good sign. So the doctor came over, took my blood pressure again, took me to a room and took it twice more. And she said some of the scariest words I've ever heard. And those were, "Your blood pressure is at stroke level." I was 35 years old. The thing is I thought I was doing everything right. I followed basically what the USDA recommends to a T. I loved my vegetables. I ate all my grains whole. Most of my meat was white. All of those things, skinless, baked instead of fried, all of those things. I was doing everything that I was supposed to do. I hadn't had fast food in a couple of years, hadn't drunk soda in a year and a half. I was doing what I thought was ideal. And here I was, 35 years old with stroke level blood pressure. So I had seen what that looks like, having a stroke. Several of my family members have had strokes, but my father-in-law specifically had a massive stroke. And I was able to heartbreakingly witness the potential horrors of that particular affliction. So I watched a man, a strong man, head of his family, kind of a man, become someone that needed people to help him go to the bathroom, that needed to feed him, that couldn't speak for the most part. And that was a tough thing to watch. And I adored him. He stayed with us another 10 years. He suffered. He was in pain a lot. And my husband is his son. And both of us at this time had blood pressure problems. My husband was on 2 medications. And so for the almost a quarter century previous to this, I'd been on a diet. I'd been on every kind of diet. And I was always interested in nutrition. Nutrition is fascinating to me. The way the body works is fascinating. But I didn't really understand it for myself. I was listening to what everyone else had to say about the way I should be eating. And what that got me was my highest weight ever was stroke level blood pressure at the age of 35. So I decided, okay, enough is enough. I don't really care so much about losing the weight. I thought that was something I couldn't fix because I tried everything, but I really care about continuing to be here. So I decided to stop listening to what everyone else said about what I should be doing. And I went directly to the science for myself. I am a bit of a science nerd. I actually really enjoy that kind of thing. And I should have done it sooner because it's quite clear in the science, the way we should be fueling our bodies. And as soon as I applied it, within 4 days, after a quarter century of dieting, within 4 days, I knew this was nothing like anything else I had done. Within 5 months, I was off the blood pressure medication my doctor told me I would be on the rest of my life. My husband is also within a few months got off of his 2 medications. Within 5 weeks after suffering my whole life, like as a baby, my mother said I had issues with terrible GI issues. That within 5 weeks, that was gone, never to return. It's really, really interesting to understand that it is very, very simple the way that our bodies are designed to be nourished. And once you apply that, the results typically are very, very quick. And so after all of that suffering, just changing what I eat really resolved all of my major issues.
Great. That's exciting. So if one wants to begin examining their eating, how can they research and organize all the information out there from the government resources and the public opinion?
So one of the big things we need to guard against, as I said, there's a lot of noise and confusion out there, and there's a lot of information. We're in this information age, right? So everywhere you go, everyone has an opinion about what we should eat. We all believe we're experts, right? We've been doing this our whole lives. We've been eating since we were babies. We believe we know what we should be doing. So it's really important to carefully, really be very picky about what you let in. Be very particular, choose wisely about where you get your information. Realize that the USDA has benefits to it, but it doesn't base all of its information, all of its recommendations on science. So for the most part, if you can go directly to the science yourself, not everyone is into that, so that's okay too, or to somebody that is very much a research-based healthcare advisor. So very heavy into the research, and then tune everybody else out, because it's really important that you not get overwhelmed. What happens when we get overwhelmed? 2 feet on the brakes, right? Screech, everything stops. So we really want to be picky about where we get our information from. Be selective.
You mentioned the word overwhelm. I hear this a lot with my organizing clients who have clutter, and now you're relating it to eating. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. So as I said, when you get overwhelmed, for most people, it is completely a stop. You know, it's just, as soon as you get overwhelmed, you completely shut down. So what we need to do is be very particular, as I said, about what to take in. So start small. Think about, okay, what are the basics? What are the basic things I need to be doing on a regular basis? And don't tackle everything all at once. I had to, because I would have likely not been here very much longer if I didn't. But that's not how I recommend that most people approach it. Most people, a stepwise approach, bit by bit, that's what the science supports, is the best strategy for changing your health. So what we can do is take what you already know. See, what you already know is that you should be eating more vegetables, right? We already know that. We already know we should be staying away from things that are filled with sugar, that are deep fried, all of those things. So take what you know, but then bit by bit, take in more of what the science says is key to good nutrition. Again, be very, very picky about where you get that information.
I know that so many sources out there that supposedly are healthy sources are saying that it's okay to eat cereals with sugar and foods with additives, and it shocks me personally. I'm really shocked. How do you recommend one begin the process of organized healthy eating?
So one strategy that works really well for a lot of people, remember, nothing is going to work well for everyone. And that's really my strategy, is to personalize, because we are all different. We have all have different strengths and challenges, right? I want you to play to your strengths. For people like Janet and myself, who are very detail oriented, who like organizing, who like to be organized, then what I highly recommend is you start by cleaning out your fridge and pantry. So giving that pantry and that fridge a good scrub, what that is a mental trigger to you that, oh yeah, I remember, because my fridge is so sparkly, I remember why I did that. I remember I put in the work, and I'm going to choose my best option out of that sparkly clean fridge.
And how do you suggest one organize beyond the front packaging of the products, which is the marketing of the product?
So this is actually really good. I actually have a couple of examples that I will bring up in a moment. But first thing I want to say is everything that is on the front of the package is to be ignored. All of that is marketing. They use certain colors, certain phrasing. They really know how to tweak your brain to make you want to buy things, to make you feel a certain way. So let me just share my screen really quickly here and give you a couple of examples. Just give it a second to load here. So this is a label reading review class I've done for my Plant Chat. So Plant Chat I hold, it's a free support group every Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. If you're interested, everybody is welcome, whether you're plant-based, whether you're just plant curious, or whether you want to know what this is about to decide whether this might be something for you. It's a wonderful group. So let me just pop through here. Just before I get into the label thing, these are some of our befores. Very, very red, very puffy, very tired looking, very unhappy. Look at the smile on this woman's face. Now look at the smile on this woman's face. People think that eating well is misery and it's hard and you're not going to be happy because you don't get to have all your favorite things. Okay, two things about that. I will not sustain anything that's not delicious. So if it's not fun, if it's not easy, if it's not delicious, it's not sustainable. And secondly, when you don't feel your body well, you don't feel good. And when you do, you feel much, much, much better. And that is where this smile comes from. Okay. So really, when we're looking at a label, we want as many whole foods as we possibly can get. So I want to show you the front of a package right here. Okay, so these two pizza crusts here, you can see the front of this 365 package, and this one's not terrible, but I want to show you some things that they do to kind of hook you and get you to buy things that without having all of the information. This green on here, using little pictures of vegetables, saying things like organic, sprouted, things like that, using certain kinds of phrasing, get you to choose this over something else. That's great. That's fantastic. That's lovely. It's beautiful. But I don't care. I want to see what is in this thing. And this particular pizza crust, which isn't so bad, but is not the best. This one over here is my favorite, the Engine 2. Has things like oil and juice and other things that are actually not food in it. You know, if you have things in there that you don't recognize, that's a really good indicator that you should just go ahead and put that back on the shelf, because If they're using the chemical name of it, likely it's not food anymore. It's something that's been created. So I just want to show you this one really quickly. I like this one here. So this is two different kinds of ketchup. One that's very common, very recognizable. And this one over here has a lot of sugar in it, tons and tons and tons of sugar. And you can tell that by looking at the ingredients. Anytime something has OSE on the end, that is sugar. Over here, we have an unsweetened product, and it is delicious. I've actually eaten it. It's very, very good. It's got tomato, vinegar, a little bit of salt. You want to watch out for that sodium, onion powder, garlic powder, and spices. Those are real foods, real foods. That's what we're looking for. Watch out for the sodium in those, but this is a really good indication of something we can choose over something that is quote unquote normally used. Just because something is commonly used doesn't mean it's good, right?
And the fructose corn syrup there is not good.
Oh, it's absolutely atrocious for you. Really, really atrocious. So I'm going to stop this share here. So high fructose corn
I like
syrup.
the next one. Go to the next one.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. High fructose corn syrup, though, our bodies are designed to eat foods that grew from the ground. Our bodies are designed to eat foods that have their fiber attached still, their original form. Our bodies know how to handle that. High fructose corn syrup is such a refined product that it is way worse than white table sugar. And white table sugar is a highly, highly, highly processed food. But our bodies do all sorts of crazy things on high fructose corn syrup. That is an absolute, definitely no, never, never, never for me. High fructose corn syrup and partially hydrogenated fats. Those two, never, 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 never. Okay, so let me pop back on here. So this is, just show you this one. This one you can actually see the ingredients for yourself. This one is pretty great. So the only thing that I'm concerned about on this label is that the sodium is a little bit high. Whenever we're choosing sodium, foods that have sodium or salt in them, we want that sodium to be equal to or less than the total calories. So this sodium is a bit high. But look at these ingredients: real food, brown rice, which is a whole grain, quinoa, which is a seed, but also considered a whole grain, seeds, lots of seeds, lots of different kinds, some pepper. These are all real foods. And what we want is real food. Preferably, we want the food the way that it grew. So the food, the way that it grew, or one step away, that is the healthiest way. That is the way our body understands how to digest that food and how to use those nutrients appropriately.
Okay. Jay has a saying that when I heard her talk before that she uses, and I repeat this to people over and over when I tell them you shouldn't have sugar, and they said, well, I eat fruit. I go, but that's a natural sugar. And Jay's remark is that was the first snack food. Right?
Yes, it is the original. It's the original snack food. It's the original fast food. It comes in its own package. You can carry it with you. It is absolutely fantastic. So the thing to really try and absorb and understand is that it's actually quite simple. It really is. Not necessarily easy to make the transition because of the way that's the standard American diet, that SAD diet, standard American diet, SAD. It's very sad. It is full of processed foods, and even the quote unquote vegetables that are in there are highly processed typically. What we want is just to focus as much as possible on those foods the way that they grew. All the foods that grow from the ground, the way that they grew, or as close to it as possible. Keep it simple. Keep it simple so that helps to prevent that overwhelm we're talking about.
So Jay, after one clears out and declutters their refrigerator and their pantry closet, what would be the next step in organizing healthy eating, such as the meal planning process?
Right. So again, this has got to be personalized to you. Some people like to really love to cook, right? They love to cook. So they're maybe going to want to cook a special meal every day, or maybe even 3 times a day, depending on how much you love that. So that person is going to want to have a very meticulous plan and all the ingredients that they need to make their special meals every day. Some of us are don't mind eating the same things often. And so batch cooking might be something that's preferable to them. So you make a big pot of chili and you make a big pot of veggies and make a big salad and you eat off of that for a couple of days. Whatever it is that you do, the most important thing that you do is have a plan. It doesn't have to be meticulous. It doesn't have to be detail, detail, detail. But what it does have to be is something that makes sense, something that prevents you from overbuying things that you don't need, and something that is going to work for your life. So having a plan is absolutely critical. That plan is going to vary person to person, possibly widely, but make sure that it is a plan that works for you in your life.
Well, fresh plant-based foods all sound great, but how does the very busy working professional like myself, who is on the go constantly running, get organized with foods when we are not able to be in a kitchen cooking for ourselves all the time?
So as you said, there are some foods that come in their own package. So you can definitely bring those with you. Foods that can be room temperature, that last really, really well without refrigeration, things like apples and oranges and all of those fruits. The other thing you can do is really what I call recognize the greatness in others. And that is to use things that somebody else prepares. So for somebody that's very, very busy, grocery stores are fantastic, and they're getting better and better all the time because they're recognizing that we want to be healthy. We want to take that health power in our own hands and get healthier, but we are extremely busy. So what they've done is each grocery store has a whole section where they have chopped and prepared a whole assortment of fresh foods for you to just take home and saute or take home and eat. There are things like Trader Joe's is fantastic for if you're local. Trader Joe's is wonderful. They have little veggie wraps that you can take and eat. They have little salads and all that sort of thing. And a lot of stores have that kind of thing now. Prepackaged stuff is not evil. It's not the devil or anything like that. But we want to read those ingredients. We want packaged foods that contain real food. If they have real food in them, then they can be part of a whole food plant-based diet. They can be part of a healthy diet. So, for example, Trader Joe's has frozen brown rice, frozen quinoa, all the frozen fruits and vegetables are actually quite good for us. And so that's an opportunity. See, if you're out and about and you have a bag of frozen peas and you have a little bit of frozen brown rice and you have something else that you add to the top of that, maybe a sauce or something like that, by the time you're ready to eat it, it should be thawed and good to go. So you just have to prepare a little bit in advance. These are the situations where meal planning and batch cooking and all that kind of prep really pay off. So read those ingredients and, get that help wherever possible. I'm a corner cutter. I absolutely am. If it's not easy and not fun and not delicious, I'm not going to do it. It's not sustainable.
So how does one organize their food budget when organic foods and healthy foods usually cost more than the processed foods or making a trip to a fast food restaurant?
Absolutely. So if you're getting your food in convenience form, so if you're going to a restaurant or especially fast food and you're trying to pick something healthy there, the healthy options are always way more expensive. But again, if you plan ahead, you can prepare these foods and they can be much cheaper than anything else. Rice, extremely cheap. Beans, very cheap. Apples, very cheap. Carrots, very cheap. Lettuces, very cheap. So it's really about planning ahead, thinking about what you're going to need in the future and having it ready to go. So one of the things I love to do is is on a Sunday, or sometimes depending on what I have going on at Crazy Life, I will take a couple of hours and just spend it prepping for the week. And the more that you do that, the more you have stuff in your fridge. You want to have like a smorgasbord in your fridge. You want to have a salad bar all ready to go. So you just go bam, 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 and I'm out the door. Make it easy for yourself. Make it super, super, super simple. One of the things that people really struggle with, especially with fresh foods, is overbuying. Because I don't know, we are the way that our physiology, the way our anatomy is that we are attracted to all those beautiful colors. And it can be really, when we're excited about eating healthy, it can be a little bit overwhelming, and we can tend to buy more things than we actually need. I don't know about the rest of you, but the farmer's market is my happy place. But I have to be really careful because I just want to buy everything, but it doesn't last. So the key is, again, you're going to hear me say this word 4,000 times. Plan. You have to have a plan. So I want to get my 3 servings of greens in a day. So how many handfuls is that? So that's how many greens I need. You got to think a little bit ahead so that you're not throwing that stuff away. One last thing though, plant-based foods tend to be very, very receptive to freezing. So plant-based sauces, and you can even freeze greens. So if you do overbuy, just chuck those things in the freezer until you're ready to use them.
And her word plan is organized. That's all about organizing.
Yes.
I see clutter happening inside people's refrigerators and pantries all the time as I organize with clients. People see things on sale, so they buy more than they actually need or have storage space for, which is sort of what you just said. What suggestions do you have to help people organize healthy food so that they don't waste food or money?
I have a ton of suggestions, because this is one of the programs that I do for people. I actually come in and clean out their pantries and fridges. 2 things that really, really do help. That they sound like small things, but they are critical. Believe me. Turn out your labels. When you're looking at your fridge, when you're looking at your pantry, make sure that those labels are facing you so that you can see at a glance what you have. The other thing I recommend is, if you have large shelves in your fridge or your pantry, that you do levels so that you can look and see, okay, I already have 8 cans of pinto beans. I don't need any more pinto beans. But if they're buried behind 8 cans of tomato sauce, then you're not going to be able to see that. So try and make it as clear as possible what it is that you have. The other thing that really can help some people is to have a running inventory. Take a minute when you're getting started cleaning out that fridge or cleaning out that pantry, run through really quickly, write everything down. Okay, I do have a whole case of pinto beans. No need to buy new pinto beans anytime soon. That sort of thing will help you when you're thinking about recipes. Okay, I'm going to need some beans. If you just go to the store and start wandering around, you'll think, yeah, I need beans for that recipe, not thinking about the beans that you already have.
And a lot of grocery stores that do the online will often save your shopping lists. And so that makes shopping a lot easier too. That acts as the checklist that you were mentioning.
Yeah.
How do you organize eating to balance hormones, blood pressure, blood sugar, lipids, and other biomarkers in the body?
So that's really an excellent question. There is a big secret. And so don't tell anybody. I'm just kidding. Tell everyone. A healthy diet is a healthy diet is a healthy diet is a healthy diet. There are diets out there specific, and I've been trained in these things. So I know there are diets out there for specific diseases, for specific underlying conditions, for specific things that are out of range, right? Blood sugar, blood pressure, cholesterol. I'm telling you that the solution to all of them is to eat food that was designed for our bodies. It's very, very simple. Let me give you an example of a common misconception out there. So we have a lot of hormones in our bodies. Our bodies are basically the hormones are the generals of our bodies. They're directing things all the time. And one of those hormones is insulin. So insulin is from our pancreas, and insulin can become an issue if you have any sort of diabetes. So type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, anything in between. There are many different kinds of diabetes. Most common one is type 2. So most people are advised to eat low carbohydrate for diabetes. Now, it's not that that's not correct, but what it is a way to manage your symptoms now instead of healing the underlying for the future. So you have to pay attention to carbohydrates, but what I want you to do, what is the science supports, is that you choose wisely when it comes to your carbohydrates instead of eliminating them or instead of reducing and restricting them. A donut is a carbohydrate. Broccoli is a carbohydrate. So everything in between is called carbohydrate. But I don't want you to avoid carbohydrates. I want you to choose very, very wisely. So everything that is whole, those whole foods are healing foods. They do things like increase our insulin sensitivity so that our blood sugar will go down, so that it will go down over the long term. When we eat very low carb, that's one kind of specific diet, our insulin resistance gets worse, so our diabetes gets worse. So yes, you can control your blood sugar in the moment like that, but if you're looking for long-term health, then a healthy diet is a healthy diet is a healthy diet is a healthy diet. And that is eating those plant foods as close to the way they grew as possible. That helps with blood pressure. It helps with cholesterol. It helps with heart disease. It helps with brain health. It helps with everything.
What would you say? You mentioned eating a certain way for certain diseases. How to improve one's immune system? What would you recommend? Same that you described for diabetes?
So yes. So, I'm saying that a healthy diet is a healthy diet is a healthy diet. And absolutely that is true. But I can explain why it helps for each different thing. So let me give you the rundown for immunity, which is really important right now, right? So immunity is supported by our microbiota. We know that we have trillions of little buddies that live inside our body that live with us in symbiosis. They help us in a variety of different ways. So we want to feed those microbes. So we have trillions of microbes in our body and we need to feed them. What do they eat? Foods that contain fiber. So the harmful ones eat some of those processed foods and those harmful foods, but the helpful ones all eat foods that contain fiber, everything that grows from the ground. So in order to support a healthy immune system through your diet, there are other ways you can support it as well, through exercise and all that kind of thing, getting some sunshine, some fresh air, that sort of thing. The other way, the way that's specific to nutrition is to eat a variety of whole plant foods, because that increases the health of your colonies of bacteria. And those bacteria are what release beneficial chemicals. They help us to digest our food. They help us with our hormones. They help us with our immune system. They help us with our mental health. They do a lot of things. And this is an evolving science. This is really an emerging science, but it is amazing, everything that those little trillions of little buddies do in our body.
Great. That's very helpful. Can you address why some people never feel full and will overeat because of this? Is it because they have damaged their internal shutoff valve somewhere along their life due to poor eating?
So that is a possibility, actually. Our bodies love routine and pattern, and they will adjust to what we do. So if you're a chronic overeater, your body will adjust to that. And if you try to reduce that, even though that would be healthier for you, your body will go, no, we're not done yet. We always eat more. So that is one way to kind of look at resetting that. I call that an apostat, your appetite thermostat. We want to kind of reduce that if we can. The other thing is to take into account is that the highly processed foods that we purchase, we're designed, like literally a scientist, and you can look this up. This is not a conspiracy theory. Go look up, I think it's Lay's is the one that has videos on this. Electrodes to a human's brain, and they fed them things until it lit up the centers of the brain that are the same centers that are activated with addictive substances. So the only way for manufacturers to make more money is to get us to eat more. And how do they do that? By triggering certain centers of the brain that shut off our common sense, our that whole ability that we have to recognize that we're full and we don't need any more. Anybody ever eat to the point of pain? I mean, I have, absolutely. So recognize that those foods that are setting off those signals in our brain are really hijacking our natural intuitive eating patterns. Once you clear that garbage out, you don't crave it anymore. As soon as you clear it out, you don't crave it anymore. It takes a little bit of time. And then you can rely on your intuition more. But while you're eating those highly processed foods, you can't trust your intuition because it has been hijacked by those highly processed foods. The other thing to keep in mind, according to the science, the most satiating foods, the most foods that keep us full the longest are starch-based foods. And number one on that is boiled potatoes. That's just what the science says. I'm just reporting it. So what I highly recommend that you do is eat starchy whole foods, and non-starchy foods together. Then you get bulk, then you get stretch in your stomach. So your stomach feels full, and that starch will keep you full longer.
I know I was very disappointed to learn last year that one of my favorite vegan restaurants put sugar in their foods for exactly what you said, to make things taste good so that you'll come back and you'll keep eating there. And yes. I haven't been there in a year. So as Jay said, you really have to look at the labels and you have to question the restaurants.
Yes, know what you're putting in your body. Absolutely, absolutely.
For people who might want additional information about the services that you provide, Jay, could you please tell us what you offer and about your classes and your coaching programs?
Absolutely. For starters, finances should not get in the way of good health. Finances should not be a barrier to you achieving good health. And so I have plenty of things that are free of charge. And I do that because it's too important to me. But I also have bills. You know, the lights need to stay on over here. The Zoom costs money. So I do have some services that I do charge for. So first of all, I have Plant Chat. Again, as I said before, every Saturday, 11 a.m. PT Pacific time. Everybody is welcome. I don't care if you're completely not interested, but you're just a little curious, come, because it's a fantastic group and very supportive and loving and wonderful. And we really help each other quite a bit. I also have quite a few resources online, lots of recipes, lots of videos. I have a YouTube channel, lots of free stuff out there, plenty of free stuff. I work with a lot of doctors and other healthcare professionals who are as passionate about this as I am, and they have a lot of free things too. So get on my mailing list. That is what I highly recommend, because that's when you're going to hear about stuff. So my website is pb4life.com. That's PB as in plant-based, FORLIFE.com. I'm going to pop my email up in just a minute, my phone number. But really get on there and get signed up for the mailing list, which is also free. Now, if you want to get a little more intense with your health journey, I do one-on-ones. I have an amazing weight loss program. It comes in two versions, intensive private and more ongoing group. So I also have, as I mentioned before, little packages to help you get started. Meal planning, pantry clean out, that sort of thing. What's really important to me is that I find a solution that works for you. I also have a bunch of pre-recorded classes. If you don't really want to work with another human being, we're kind of getting in this, realizing that there are a lot of us out there that are introverts this past year, right? In the past year and a half. If you really don't want to work with other people or be in a group, then I have some pre-recorded classes as well. Plant-based basics, plant-based 2.0, and eating for brain health, and Simple Strategies for Sustained Weight Loss. So that one's kind of a shorter version of my big program, which is body positive, health forward weight loss. So let me just pop up my phone number and email here in case anybody wants to jot that down. There it is. I thought it was still there. Okay.
Maybe you can bring it up because we don't see it.
Yeah, sorry, it is being funny with me. There we go. I got it. Here we go.
Good. Oh, we got the crackers. Oh, there we go.
So this is my body positive health forward weight loss program. Absolutely so thrilled and proud of this program. But there are lots of different ways you can. I have as little as 30 minutes with me. I have a free 30-minute consult. Again, financially should not get in the way. But for those of you who just want a little check-in now and then, 30 minutes. If you would like more information, or if you'd like to get on the mailing list or what have you, my email is here, jay@pbforlife.com, and that's my phone number. You're welcome to reach out at any time. I welcome little questions. Feel free to just reach out.
Great. MJ, can you bring us back so that we're like a gallery view? We can open up and unmute people. And that was fantastic, Jay. I learned so much. And
Thank you. Thank you.
Information is fantastic, and Jay's such a great speaker and so intelligent when it comes to healthy, organized eating. Does anyone have any questions? You can unmute yourself. You can put it in the chat box. I'm sure there's going to be a few questions out there. Okay. Someone has a question?
Yeah, Janet, I have a question regarding probiotics.
Okay.
That's a good question.
For probiotics, there's so many out there. Any suggestions about the probiotics?
Absolutely. So very excellent question. Excellent question. As I said, this whole microbiome research is an emerging, evolving science. So probiotics sort of jumped on it right at the beginning, and people were really excited about probiotics, but the current science says that probiotics are not necessarily a good thing. The reason why is because we don't understand enough about which colonies we should be encouraging to grow. The other thing is that if you overwhelm one colony, like if you fuel too much with one colony, it can overwhelm others. So there's the science is not clear on this yet, but the scientific consensus at this point is don't take probiotics unless you're trying to treat some specific digestive issue. They're also really, really expensive. So what I highly recommend is you focus on prebiotics. What are prebiotics? Prebiotics are all of those fiber-filled foods. Prebiotics are what fuel. They are what allow those colonies to flourish appropriately without, overgrowing one as opposed to another. My dream one day is that they're going to be able to take a sample from you and say, okay, I see the array of colonies you have here. This one's a little low. Eat more pomegranate seeds. This one needs a little boost. Eat more apples. You're eating too many of whatever. So I really believe that someday we're going to be able to tailor very, very specifically to get that good range of microbes. But as far as we know right now, we don't know enough to be giving people probiotics.
I might have been confused. I thought she was asking about macro, the macro eating, the macrobiotic eating.
No, probiotics, right? Was the question?
No, not about the probiotics, like the pills that you take, but about the macrobiotic diet. Because I was told too once to eat a macrobiotic diet for some health reasons.
So the macrobiotic diet it has some pluses. There are some things about it that are good, but the diet overall is not really supported by the science. So the way that it's structured, and there are pieces of it that are not supported by the science. what you're better off doing is realizing what it is our bodies need to get in on a daily basis. And it's a very short list, really. It's very short, what our bodies need to get in on a daily basis. And then, building your diet around that. So all of us that do this for a living have lists. I have a list of 6 things that you should be getting in on a daily basis. Dr. Joel Fuhrman has his G bombs: greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, berries, and seeds. Dr. Michael Greger has his daily dozen. So that includes some exercise and other things. So his list is a little bit longer, but there are some things you should be getting in on a daily basis and some amounts, but basically what we're looking for is a nice ratio. So if you're looking at a 9-inch plate, you want at least, if you have any underlying conditions, or you have overweight or obesity, at least half of that plate should be non-starchy vegetables. Preferably a quarter of it dark leafy greens, and another quarter of it lots of different colors of non-starchy vegetables. Then a quarter of it should be a starch, a whole food starch, like whole grains. Potatoes are perfectly fine, eat the skin. And then a quarter of it be predominantly protein. So your beans, your peas, your soy products, as close to whole as possible. Those highly processed soy products aren't good for us either. So it's all about the ratios, and then fruits as snacks. Don't forget those fruit, they need to get in there. So before meals, after meals, get those fruits in the in-between times.
Let the fruit be your dessert rather than cake.
Exactly.
Any other questions?
I terrified you, didn't I? So one of the questions I get quite often, so I'll do a little FAQ here for a second while you guys think about other questions you might have. Do I have to give up, fill in the blank, whatever it is? Do I have to give up? No, you absolutely don't. One of my favorite things to teach is crowding. Crowding is really one of those beautiful strategies that takes the fear out of it and gives you back control. So what am I talking about when I'm saying crowding? I'm saying eat more good stuff. Don't worry about getting rid of any of those naughty things right now. Just eat more good stuff. That crowds out the bad. We only have so much room in our stomach. The other thing that we need to do is things are either harmful or helpful, right? There's nothing that's neutral. Everything is either harming or it's helping. So if you are eating those things that are harming still, we want to drown them with the good stuff. Really, really drown them. Looks like we have a couple in the chat there. Really drown those harmful foods with good things. Number 1, greens. Get those greens in every day, dark leafy greens. Number 2, eat beans every day. A cup to a cup and a half of beans. So did we get some more questions? I see something happening here in the chat.
Yeah. So someone wrote that they were their son was on a specific carbohydrate diet, plant-based, and meats and chickens and fish mostly, and turkey. They added in a little rice and they gained 5 pounds. Part of that also maybe has some emotional eating there because her son moved out, she said. So how do you handle, and I know I do this often, if I had a very stressful day or stressful phone call, or I have got a ton of work that I have to do that night that I don't want to work on, I want to eat. That's the first thought that comes to my mind is, let's go eat something. That'll get you through the project that you have to do. How do you handle emotional eating?
So you really can't separate emotion from eating. People think that you can, but you cannot. You cannot. Everything that is in our history, our culture, everything is tied to food. The scent of food triggers memory. It is a powerful, powerful thing. So what do? We work with our emotions. How do we do that? If we are stressed, we take a break. We go for a walk. We do some deep breathing before we head to the fridge. If you are hungry for something, if a carrot will do, then have a carrot. If a piece of celery or an apple will do, then have that. If you're hungry for something, that's usually either a triggered response, a hangry response, or a blood sugar drop response, which is in response to either stress or harmful foods that were eaten previously. How do we get past that? With either stop and wait, examine whether we're actually hungry. Does celery sound good? If it doesn't sound good, you're probably not actually hungry. Then take a break, go for a walk, take a glass of water, do something else for a little while. In 20 minutes, if you're still hungry, eat something healthy. Now, if you're hungry for something, maybe you're getting past an addictive response to a certain kind of food, then for example, sugar. Sugar is a big one. I can't even have a little bit of sugar. So if I am accidentally poisoned with sugar, then I have a couple of days where I'm like, need the sugar, need the sugar, need the sugar. And so what do? I stock up on my fruit. Maybe I eat a little more fruit than I would normally, but fruit is fantastic in its whole food form. So do that. One thing I will address here for this question is it sounds like it was a pretty low carbohydrate diet. Now, when you eat lower carbohydrate, your body becomes very sensitive to carbohydrates. The more that you eat those high quality carbohydrates, remember whole grains, fruits and vegetables, really whole foods, the more your body balances back out again. So you might see with it, especially with low carb diets, people will see a dramatic increase in their water. So they'll have water gain right away. And after time, that will level out. So it's really important if you're having some rice to make sure that's a whole grain, a wild rice, a brown rice, something like that. And continue to reintroduce those to your body gradually. But because that turkey and that fish and all of that is doing damage. And the carbohydrates, those whole plant-based foods, those are the ones that will heal. So make sure you get those back in, just do it gradually and your body will adjust again.
We do have a hand raised. Yeah, Tammy, go ahead.
So I just wanted to clarify, my son was on a medical diet for Crohn's disease and
Right.
he can't eat any grains or sugar. So he can't eat potatoes or rice. He can't eat starchy foods and he's doing fantastic with no medication. So that's
Great.
the diet that we were on. And when I feel like I'm not overeating, but I just went to a normal diet and now a month later I've gained like 5 or 7 pounds. Like, what happened?
It's that carb sensitivity issue. And I would definitely encourage, I'm so thrilled that he's doing well on that diet. Definitely encourage you to do some more research on including carbohydrates that he can eat, because those are the healing foods. Our bodies are our brains. Okay, our brains only are fueled by glucose. And so we really don't want to restrict that or else we're starving our brain. So just really do some research on that. Don't take my word for it. Do some more research on it.
No, I did the research and his grades went up when he went on that diet. I mean, he got slender, his skin got beautiful. He's doing fantastic.
Okay.
That's me who went off the diet and it's not going well.
So your body is responding to the low carbohydrate diet. So if you look, okay, so we have short-term gains and then we have long-term prognosis. So really have a look at the MIND diet, the Adventist studies, or several of them, long-term studies. So these are the kinds of studies that we want to look at when it comes to our long-term health. So, like the keto diet, which is absolutely atrociously terrible for you, can see some benefits short term. But in the long term, it creates insulin resistance, it clogs our arteries, it affects our brain health, all of this stuff long term. So I'm very happy that he was able to, because I had GI issues, as I said, for 36 years. So I get it. I totally get it. But the part that I'm worried about is the long-term health. And as far as your health goes, as you're reintroducing those carbohydrates, just make sure that they're whole.
Too, from 150 to 183.
Your cholesterol went up?
Yeah, I mean, one was a fasting test and one was just a blood test, or not a blood test, a donating blood, but I was shocked that my cholesterol went up 33 points.
Well, again, this is a long-term thing. Cholesterol isn't impacted by carbohydrates, but it is impacted over time by all the white meats have just as much cholesterol in them as the red meats. Fish is actually even a little bit higher. So, you know, all of these foods long term are going to impact your health. Really, I highly recommend you look in those longitudinal studies, thousands of people over decades. That's what we're looking for, not the short-term stuff. We want to see what happens long-term. And so, as I was saying, the carb sensitivity, reintroducing those carbohydrates, those healthy carbohydrates, reintroducing them slowly is what's going to heal your body. Like even on the keto diet, which is 70% fat, sometimes people see a drop in their cholesterol right away, but over time, it is extremely harmful. It's really hard on your kidneys. Our bodies weren't designed to eat meat. If they release these chemicals called TMAOs, AGEs, advanced glycation end products, they're actually AGEs, aging yourself. They are actually breaking down your body from the inside. And, you know, there's so many things that are happening in our bodies that we can't perceive. You know, people say, oh, I feel great. Yeah, but you don't know what's going on in a cellular level. You don't feel, you know, your cholesterol. You don't feel blood pressure for the most part, unless it's really bad. You don't feel high blood sugar unless it's really, really bad. You don't feel insulin resistance. You don't feel all of these sort of metabolic disorders, although they are happening. And it takes, you know, eating this way, it can take 10 years before it shows up, but then the damage is done. So we really want to think about the long term, look at those long longitudinal studies, tens of thousands of people over decades. Look at the patterns of eating. Look at the 5 blue zones in the world. The 5 blue zones, the 5 places in the world where people live the longest and live the most vital lives. They are all predominantly plant-based. The number one commonality amongst those 5 zones in the world is good social networks. That's number 1. Number 2 is beans. Eat your beans every single day. So we want to make sure that we're including those healthful foods, those building blocks that our body needs to heal, to sustain long term.
Well, we've hit the hour mark. So I want to thank Jay so much for being here. I told you it was going to be an exciting talk, so I hope you all enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing you next month when we're going to have an attorney who is going to speak about making sure that your website is ADA compliant. Believe it or not, there are many lawsuits going on right now where people, these crazy people, are going after websites and suing because they're saying the websites are not ADA compliant. It's going to be a fascinating talk. So I look forward to seeing you next month in October, and in November, I'm going to have somebody who's going to talk about how to organize your home inventory so that if something, for disasters, so if something happens like a fire, a flood, an earthquake, that you have evidence of what you have in your house so that you can properly work with your insurance company. So thank you everyone for being here tonight. Good night.
Thank you.